Hey everyone, here is a quick overview of the Illustrator exercises that you started last night, and so you'll know exactly what you need to do for turn in when this is due. For the first exercise, you start a new file, which is a letter size. You're going to name it your last name hyphen circle. The 8.5 by 11, you do not have to worry about bleed. Leave it in CMYK high resolution and create. First thing you want to do is create your background, which is a square. So you'll go underneath your shape tool, grab your rectangle tool, holding the shift key. Actually, no, let me back up. If you just click, you can make it 6 inches by 6 inches, and that creates a square. Every shape that you make, as a reminder, in Illustrator is automatically going to put this stroke around it, so you want to eliminate that, and the stroke is the outline. So the first thing I want to do is change the color. This needs to be a black square. First, I'll delete the stroke. So this is the stroke line. All you have to do is click none. For the shape, I'm going to make it black. All right, and now I'm going to move this until I see that it is in the center, which highlights there in the center. And then you're going to go to Object, Lock, Selection. And the shortcut for that is Command 2. So now this will not move, and I don't have to worry about it being thrown all over. For the circle exercise, you are going to make a white circle, and I usually start it over to the side so I can see what I'm doing and I don't have to worry about it, any black shapes or whatever overlapping. So I'm going to hold my shift key and create a circle. This needs to be white. And now I want to create, you can either use the pen tool to cut out, you want to create an open circle. So that it can either be done by putting shapes on top or create an unusual shape with the pen tool. That is your choice. Myself, just for the purposes of this, I'm going to just create some shapes. And once you have some shapes created like you want, and you can change these to different color just to make it easier to see, you click and drag across all of them so that it selects all of them. And using your Pathfinder tool, and if it is not open, every tool you need to use can be found by going to Window. And if you go to Window, nope, sorry about that, go to Window, and where I've already got Pathfinder selected, well, of course I just deselected it. Select Pathfinder, and then you're going to select minus front. That creates the shape. Now you want to create 60 of these. Now some people would just make one and copy it. Make your 60 over to the side. You can make them as you go, however it's easiest for you. Just whatever you do, they all need to be to proportion. So every copy you make needs to still be that perfect circle shape. So if you want to, and they do need to be, some of them smaller, some of them larger. So as you increase or decrease size, you want to hold the shift key as you do that so it maintains its circle shape. So to make it simpler, you can use the Alt key and drag and click and drag, and it'll make a copy. To make copies of that, you hit the Alt key, click and drag. And you can continue doing this until you have 60. So once you have your 60, you're just going to start arranging them. You can start with making one really large that bleeds off the page. You can have little small ones. You can have even smaller ones. Just until you create a design. And I had said in class last night to reference that PDF on the elements of design to give you some ideas. If you need some inspiration, it can be symmetric, it can be asymmetric. That does not matter as long as you have 60 circle shapes that are in their circle proportion laid out somehow on this 6x6 background. The parameters are set there for a reason. If you're forced to stay in that, and I know this is just an exercise, so don't overthink it. Just create a design with a shape. Okay, and once that's done, you'll save that and you're going to create a PDF. So I have I'm going to save my file here. And then to create a PDF, I'm going to go to File, Save As, and then you can go to this dialog and click Adobe PDF and save. And just leave everything to its default and save PDF. Done. So that's all you have to do for that one. Once that one is finished, you're going to start a new file. And we're going to save this one as your last name and shape. And if you do this one after the other, you saw it just defaulted to PDF. That's not what we want. We want this to be an AI file, which stands for Adobe Illustrator. So make this, so that way you still have all your capability that you would normally have. Okay, so now I have Baltimore shape. I'm going to create my square, which I grab my shape tool and click and go 6 inches to 6 inches. That creates my square. If you want to change your increments, the units and increments within your file, there's a couple of ways of doing this. Right now it's set for pixels. So I can go to Illustrator and go to Settings and go to Units. And I'm sorry, it's at points. We're going to change that to inches. And we're going to leave everything else to points. And now this has changed my ruler here. Another way of changing that is you can hold the Control, or I believe it's Alt for PC, and click on the ruler, and you can change it here as well. All right, so I have my square. It's in the center. I need to make it black. First, I'm going to take off the stroke, like none. And for the shape, I'm going to make it black. And then again, I'm going to lock it. I go to Object, Lock, Selection. Once that's done, I'm going to select my pen tool, shortcut P, and I'm just going to create a shape. And I'm wanting the shape to be white, so I can go ahead and change that here, or you can either change it here. My preference personally is to go to the swatches, because every file, once you start a file, it comes with several colors by default, two of those being black and white. So you know these are pure black and white. So I select white, and then I'll just start creating a shape. So I drop a point, that's an anchor point. Every time you drop the pen tool, and there is a more in-depth pen tool video out on the drive. When you click and drag, it makes a curve. If you want to eliminate one of those handles so they're easier to manipulate, just click that center one. And then you just continue, click and drag. You want to make a straight line, you just do click. I can do a couple of those. And then you just make sure that you close your shape, meaning you go back to the point you started with. That's going to be your last click. Your first click and your last click are going to be in the same spot. And you see the little circle that's showing up there at the end, that's showing that I'm closing the shape. And even though this is the last one, I can still click and drag and make it curved. And say that I want to adjust this and tweak it. That's when I will select my direct selection tool. That's where you can choose a point on a shape and you can manipulate it. Now, if I want to move the shape itself, I use the selection tool. So same thing as you did before, you're going to create 60 of these. You also want to maintain its size and proportion, not the size, but the proportion. So hold your shift key as you make this smaller, and you can do as you did before. You can make multiples of these. Alt key as you drag, Alt, and then you can just select them. Hold your Alt key as you click and drag. And then once you do that, you can do just like you did before. You can have these. You also want to, rotate these, just even in the circle. I didn't mention that in that, but you want to rotate these. You want to make some of them, go off the page. You can make some of them really large, create some weird shapes. So that is how you start that one. And this, you'll do the same thing. You'll save here, and then you'll save it as a PDF as well. For your clock, you're going to start another file. You're going to go File, New. You're going to create a letter size file again. Last name, clock. And we'll just make this inches. We don't have to fight with that ahead of time. And this time you are going to make an 8-inch square. So click your shape tool, click, and I'm going to go 8, tab 8, say OK. Again, it has that stroke around it, so we want to get rid of the outline, and we want to make the shape black. Move that to the center. Object, lock, selection. Once that's done, you want to create your circle that's going to go on the inside. This one, you can just use your ellipse tool, and you can do the same thing to create a circle. You don't have to hold the shift key and try to figure out a 7-inch circle. You can just click and do 7 by 7, and it will give you a perfect circle. You want to make this one black. And then once you've done that, put it in the center, object, lock, selection. This is where your images come in. And you're going to want to, you can either do them in a separate file or copy them into it. Most people find it easier to just do it here. If you want to create another artboard to trace alongside this, if you go to artboards, this little option here, it will hover, if you hover over it to find it. Again, if you can't find something, if you go up here and search for it, you'll be able to find the tool or the panel you're looking for. You can create another artboard. Then you're going to place your 4 images that need to be uploaded to the drive by 9 p.m. on Sunday, and I'll show you that in just a second. I'm just going to use my mushroom I used previously for this. And because this is going to represent your 12, 3, 6, and 9 on your clock, I will make that a little smaller. If you want to make it larger while you're tracing it, that's fine. When you shrink it, just know that when you draw with a pen, you're drawing with that stroke line. And as you make it bigger or larger, it will make the stroke bigger or larger. So you may have to thicken that line. And how to do that? So here is my pen tool. I'm going to make a shape. I'm going to make it a black line. Make the stroke black. Okay, so here right now, if you want to see how thick this is without having to go back into the pen tool, you can look right here. It's telling me I have a 1-point line. That's how thick this line is right now. If I hold my shift key and I make this larger, this now increased to 1.5873. So think of it like this: when you're drawing around this mushroom, your line may be thicker, but if you may have to shrink that mushroom to put it on the clock and make it look right, so when you shrink way down, the stroke shrinks as well. All you have to do is where you select that image, you can change the stroke line. I can make it really thick if I want to. You can also curve the corners so it's softer. All right, so there's a more in-depth tutorial on creating with the pen tool, but for this, I'm just going to do a very crude object here. So I am going to place this on a new layer. So we talked about the template layer. So I'm going to create this one, and I'm going to call it template. I'm going to object. I'm sorry, no, not object, edit. I'm going to cut. and then I'm going to go to this layer and edit, paste. So it's now, you see how it's outlined in red. This is the layer that I'm on. So now what I can do is I can dim the images for that one. I can also lock it. But you can also drag it so that your drawing layer is up on top. Now me personally, I would make this my background. So it does so that your background black square and your white circle remain the same. And you can even lock the layers here so that you can either lock the object on the page and use it all on the same page, or you can lock the layer here. So now I'm going to add a whole new layer, and I'm going to put art. Then I'm going to grab my pen tool, and you can use Command plus and minus on a Mac, Control plus and minus on a Mac to zoom in or zoom out. And then I start tracing with my pen tool. And I'm just doing this really crude, and I've still got that stroke set really high, so that's why that looks like that. You can set this for drawing if you want to even set it way down to 0.25 so it doesn't interfere with your vision. It's totally up to you. It's very customizable. So I'm going to click and drag, and I'm just going to make this kind of rough just so we can get through this video. Click, drag, click the handle. I remember this being one of the hardest things for me to learn when I first took this class. It takes a little while to get the hang of it. Just that's why we have these exercises, just to practice. All right, so I've got that. And let's just see. Let's do another one. I'm just going to do a rectangle here. And for your bigger shapes, if you just want to put something in the background, you can create something like that and still manipulate it. Just make sure your pen tool is the bulk of what you're using here. Now what I'm doing is, right, for this one here, I'm going to just reverse this. And I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So that's on top of that white layer. I made that shape white just to create a little depth. And now here, this little swap key, you can either do Shift X or you can hit the arrow. And as I said, it's a very crude looking mushroom. So once you've created your illustration, click and drag all your pieces, and then you can go to Object, Group, and it puts them all together in one piece. And if you, I would recommend not just moving this over. I would say use your Alt key to copy it so that you keep your original. And then you can just create your shapes, and you're going to create a separate shape for each one. You're going to create markers for the other numbers. So for the 1, 2, 4, 5, etc. And you're also going to create a center point, and you're going to create clock hands that fit with your theme. So I'm going to go over here and show you. First, I want to make sure you know where everything is. So in Content, under Handouts, the Illustrator exercises, all the directions that you need are right there. For the 4 images that you're turning in, you go to Activities, Assignments, and you'll find your Illustrator clock reference images. These are low resolution images. You're just going to be placing them in Illustrator to trace. These do not need to be high resolution, and it just needs you to upload that to show what your theme is going to be. And if you were not in class last night, the theme can be anything. It can be dogs, it can be cats, it can be birds, it can be beach, it can be mountain, whatever. So to show you everyone some examples that we went over last night, there we go. So here are the circles. You can see how she took one circle It's been turned in multiple directions. You have scale is different. Some of them are bleeding off the page. This one is where she used the pen tool to cut a shape out of the circle. That is also okay, and she created a symmetrical design. And here's an asymmetric design with just shapes cut out of the circle. For the shape exercise, here are my examples. So this is where you just create one shape and you repeat that shape, and there needs to be 60 of them on there. Here's another one. I left the shape here, so she left it in her project. So this is her shape, and this is the design she created. And this one did not quite go to 60, but she kind of missed that mark on there, but she just decided to do a bird shape. All right, let me show you some clocks, and then we'll wrap this up. This is one point that I wanted to show. So your clock, when you get ready to turn it in, you see where hers, this is, I wanted to show you, chose the Meredith scene. So you've got the corn husking and everything here, but she did not package her file. So I don't have the font that she used. When you get through with your clock, you're going to do File, Package, and then you're just going to say Package. And not, obviously this is from a different point, so I would say I'll save it here. And you just choose your file, just like you do a file save. This is a package, and it's saying that it can't do it because there is no font. So this is the issue. So I couldn't open it up and see what hers look like. This is also why I want you to do a PDF of all of your designs, so that way I see them exactly as you made them. So if you happen to miss this step, I can still grade you on your design, even if I don't see every bit of it. So here's one that's a literary book, Tea Time. And here's one that's just office supplies. I have one with shelves, and I left this one here so you could see how she placed her images and traced them here. And it's okay if you leave the second artboard in here, that's totally fine. And here's one of the floral, and you can see how she got a little more intricate with her clock hands. All right, so that's it. If you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out and let me know. Good luck.